Hello, people. What's going on? How we feeling? It is a Thursday. On the number one podcast you are going to find out there on Bama football. This is the Bama Elite Touchdown Alabama magazine right here on your YouTube channel with the two baddest men in the game right now. We got my man Justin Smith, the lead scouting and recruiting analyst for TDA, who will be covering the Alabama Tennessee game in Knoxville. So shouts out to you, Justin, getting this opportunity. I'll be yours truly, Stephen M. Smith of TDA. And as you guys are in here in the show right now, got to remind you as always, if you can't check us out, the Bama Elite, which we encourage you to do so, we're bringing the action, we're bringing the fire, we're bringing the content in terms of the Crimson Tide. But when you can't get to us, then check out the Big Game College Football Podcast Network and audio stream for the best college football coverage in the South. So once again, if you can't catch us here, the Bama Elite, TDA, you go to the Big Game College Football Podcast Network and audio stream for the best coverage in the South of college football. Big week this week. Bama, Tennessee, Saturday, 2:30 Central Time kickoff from Neyland Stadium in Knoxville. CBS will have the call for the first time in a while. Both programs undefeated. Both programs in the top 10. Alabama at number 3, Tennessee at number 6. Emotions are high. Juices are flowing. People in Rocky Top believe that this is the year they break the streak of losing 15 times to a Nick Saban coached Alabama team since 2007. The last time Tennessee beat Alabama was 2006 with Eric Ainge at quarterback and Arian Foster toting the football. But without further ado, Justin, what's going on, man? How you feeling? Happy to have you in here. Congrats to you again on getting the chance to cover the Alabama-Tennessee game this weekend.
Yeah, I'm excited to cover the game. Excited to watch it. I know a lot of Alabama fans are excited too. Yeah, I think the last Tennessee Alabama game I was at most likely was the one that came down to the wire where Josh Dobbs gave Alabama a scare there in Bryant-Denny Stadium. So I'm excited for the matchup. Excited to dig into it right here on the Bama Elite as always.
Absolutely. So in terms of digging to this matchup now, Justin, we start off with the thing that everybody's been talking about, whether it's national media, local media, fans alike. Bryce Young, the status of Bryce Young, is the junior reigning Heisman Trophy winning quarterback going to play? Sustained the sprained AC joint to his throwing shoulder, second quarter against Arkansas, did not play against Texas A&M. He's practiced all week. He's done a little bit more in practice each day. Coach Saban used a baseball term, got him on a pitch count, trying to work him back in more and more. He did more today in practice. Coach Saban likes to hold things close to the vest. But from people I've spoken with, Young's good to go. He looks great. He looks strong. He looks ready. He looks prepared. He looks like if he's not 100%, he is really, really close to that. And, having a Bryce Young out there on the field offensively, it's a big deal because you want the two trigger pullers and Young and Hendon Hooker going at it to see, who's the man, who's the best here in terms of both of these offenses that are averaging over 40 points per game. So for you, Justin, I'm hearing Bryce is going to go, Bryce does go. How big is this for Alabama? Having the Heisman Trophy winner on the field in full go, in full stride against a Tennessee team that's coming in here with a lot of confidence.
I think that's game changing if Bryce is able to play just based on the way that Tennessee's defense has looked this season. Their defense, especially the secondary, looks very suspect. And we all know what Bryce Young likes to do. So I think it can ultimately be a game changer for the Crimson Tide if Bryce Young is able to go. Let's take a look at his injury. Going back to what Nick Saban said, I think a couple of weeks ago before the Texas A&M game, it will most likely be a pain tolerance type of thing. So getting that week off, I'm pretty sure that helped him with this recovery. But I'm going to be watching how he goes through things with that shoulder sprain. How much pain, if any, will he experience during this matchup and how his throwing motion looks? I'm pretty sure that will all play a role in Alabama's decision to possibly play him. But like you said, from people you are hearing, but from people that you are talking to and what you are hearing, that Bryce Young looks strong and looks ready to go. I think that could very well be true because we all know that Nick Saban's not going to just come out and say, yo, yeah, he's going to play. You want to give Tennessee an opportunity to have to game plan for both quarterbacks. Keep up those suspicions when you take a look at Tennessee. So yeah, I think it is a game-changing thing if Young is able to play.
Now, of course, Justin, we could still see Jalen Milroe get some action out there, and I wouldn't be surprised if he does, just due to the more reps you get, the better you become. The more reps you get, the more comfortable and the more confident that you become. So I still think that Jalen Milroe can get some reps in here, but like I mentioned, from what I've been told, that Bryce Young good, ready to go, prepared, and if not at 100%, very, very close to that mark. But another guy that Saban updated was inside linebacker Jalen Moody, senior at that weak side linebacker position, playing next to Henry To'o. He did not go out there against A&M just due to a bruised kidney. But according to Coach Saban, Moody has practiced all week with no complications. He's good. He's okay. So Alabama will see Moody out there at linebacker. And the young man's had a good year. He's had a strong year next to Henry To'o. Now, of course, Deontay Lawson has played well. The redshirt freshman has flashed a lot of big potential, shooting gaps, stuffing his nose in on plays, making hard hits, hard tackles, just being instinctive, playing smart, playing fast, playing with confidence. So we will still see Deontay Lawson out there on the field, but it's good coming from Coach Saban that Jalen Moody, no complications from the bruised kidney. He's good. He's practiced all week. He's set to go for Tennessee.
Yeah, I think that is going to be good for Alabama. Although, like you said, Deontay Lawson has looked really good. I think Alabama has confidence in him. Nick Saban always talks about the confidence that they have in him. So if they had to go to Jalen Moody or Deontay Lawson, I'm pretty sure they feel really comfortable with their decisions. And like you said earlier, Jalen Moody has looked really good. Unfortunately, he was out with that bruised kidney last game against Texas A&M. Looks to be back, no complications. Played practice all week, so he looks to be strong. So I think Alabama wants to be at full strength heading into this matchup because we all know all eyes and everyone's attention is going to be on Hendon Hooker and Tennessee's offense. I think that is the big reason why people expect this to be a big game. I know I expect it to be a tight game. I think it has some potential to be a really good one. And I think that is one of the reasons why national media is planning on the upset, planning on the fact that Tennessee may upset Alabama on this weekend. I think it all goes back to Hendon Hooker and Tennessee's offense, just looking at how successful they have been. But I know we're going to talk about Alabama's defense, how they probably plan to stop Hendon Hooker later in the show. But just taking a look at what he has been able to do, if you let him sit in a pocket and give him time, let him survey the field, he really can do some damage. He's also a guy who can make some plays with his feet. So I think just having Jalen Moody back is going to be huge for Alabama's defense because you want to be at full strength. But I do feel they have some confidence in Deontay Lawson for sure, just based on how he has played.
Getting into Hooker now, Justin, the young man this season for Tennessee, completing 70% of his passes, 1,432 passing yards. He has 13 total scores, 10 passing, 3 rushing, no interceptions. He's playing with big, big confidence. But I think the key to the drill for Alabama against Tennessee is taking away Jabari Small and the run game. You go back to last year, what made Georgia successful against Tennessee and getting the 41-17 win, Georgia took away the run game. Tennessee couldn't run the football the way they wanted to, and it put it all on Hendon Hooker. It was, you have to make every perfect play to beat us. We're not going to let you run the football. We're not going to let you be balanced. You have to make every perfect play. You have to make every throw perfect. You have to be accurate in these tight windows because we're going to put the pressure on you. We're going to disguise our coverages. You have to beat us. And Hooker, though he played pretty decently against Georgia, couldn't get the win there. The same thing last year against Alabama. Hooker had some good moments last year against Alabama. Had 288 passing yards, I believe 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. But once again, Tennessee could not run the ball effectively with Tyon Evans. I think the Volunteers only had, 65 yards rushing? And it came down to, once again, Hendon Hooker, you have to beat us. We're not going to let you be balanced. We're not going to let you run the football. You have to beat us. So in this matchup here against Tennessee on the road at Neyland, the crowd is going to be crazy, but Alabama has to have that on their minds. We're not going to let Tennessee be balanced to run the football. Hendon Hooker has to make every play perfect. Now, Tennessee's going to have an issue because one of their star receivers, Cedric Tillman, who had a big performance in this game last year. Tillman, 7 catches for 152 yards and a touchdown last year. He will not play in this game due to recovery from an ankle injury he suffered against Akron. So that's a guy that Hooker has a lot of confidence in. And not having him out there, yes, they do have Jalen Hyatt, who's leading the team in receiving. He's good in his own right. But just not having Cedric Tillman, that's going to be a little bit tough there for the Volunteers. But I think the main thing here, Justin, just to me, is not letting them be balanced, taking the run completely away and having all the pressure on Hooker to deal with the pocket collapsing from the defensive line. Defensive linemen getting their hands up. They got to knock some balls down, affect him that way. Will Anderson, Henry To'o, Dallas Turner, Chris Braswell getting that pressure as linebackers that way. And then Pete Gold in the secondary disguising the coverage. Because if you've noticed, Justin, Josh Heupel has crafted this offense where Hendon Hooker does not go to his third read. It's a 1 read, 2 read. Doesn't go to the third read. Can Alabama force Hendon Hooker to go to that third read and possibly get a mistake or two from him in that read?
Yeah, I think just taking a look at Tennessee's film and the way that Hendon Hooker has played this season, I think the most important thing that Alabama's going to have to do is to get pressure on him. If you let him sit in the pocket, let him scan the field, let him evaluate things, he is very deadly and dangerous. Just taking a look at the games he's played, just taking a look at when he's able to just sit in the pocket. And teams have the offensive line seem to have protected him really well on those plays too. When other teams have sent blitzes and kept him upright, I think having him in his spot consistently is going to make him hard to stop. And just taking a look at, even though he would not have one of his weapons, Tennessee still has weapons all along their offense, which is why they are one of the more explosive offenses in the country. So I think this is going to be one of those games where Will Anderson, Dallas Turner, and Pete Golding and Nick Saban is going to have to come up with a game plan that consistently gets pressure on Hendon Hooker. Of course, stopping Tennessee's run game and making them one-dimensional would definitely help. Alabama did a really good job stopping Texas A&M's run game, so we know that their defensive front can do that. Alabama's defensive front has consistently gotten better this season, so I think they would definitely be up for it. But I think Hendon Hooker, if you just let him sit back in the pocket, I know you said give him an opportunity to win the game. I think he can do some damage if you don't get any pressure on him. You just let him stand up in the pocket all day long, just looking all over the field. So Will Anderson wants a game where he makes a major impact. He made a huge impact last game against Texas A&M, getting consistent pressure on Hendon Hooker. I think that can be one of those game-changing things, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm not saying that you just sit there and let the guy just sit back. Absolutely not. You do get pressure. You do bat balls down. You do harass them in the pocket. You do try to flush them out and contain at the same time. All of those things you do to definitely affect his throwing lanes. I know that High Power TV wrote in Brew McCoy, another weapon there for Tennessee. McCoy has been playing well also with Jalen Hyatt. So Tennessee's got weapons. They've got receivers. It's going to be big here on Alabama's defensive secondary to play in phase, play confident, attack the football. Kool-Aid McKinstry's gotten better with that. Terrion Arnold, yes, he gave up a couple of big plays against Texas A&M, but Arnold has also played with a lot of confidence as well, making some big plays out there on the field. But getting into this conversation, I mean, Justin, we just look at the national media, if you will. It's everybody's all in on the Vols. It is crazy. It doesn't matter where you turn. I don't watch ESPN First Take, but I watched it the other day, and the entire panel, even Stephen A. Smith took Tennessee. You look at Barrett Sallee of CBS taking Tennessee, boldly. You look at Joel Klatt of Fox, FS1 taking Tennessee. So many of these national correspondents, pundits taking Tennessee. Heather Dinich is out here taking Tennessee. I'm like, everybody is seriously on. This is the year where, Rocky Top beats and ends the 15-year stranglehold that Saban has had on this rivalry since becoming the head coach back in 2007. You even got former Tennessee quarterback Eric Ainge, the last volunteer quarterback to beat Alabama. That was just back in 2006. He's saying, me and my buddies, we got all of our cigars. We're ready to go into Neyland. This is the year that the streak ends. Like, we take care of Alabama this season. So, Justin, what do you make of almost everybody is rolling the dice on Alabama's in trouble. They're a trouble football team. This is not the vintage Bama that we've seen in the Saban era. Everybody's sort of hopping on Tennessee right now.
Yeah, I can say I sort of understand it in a way. I think a lot of people are jumping on board in a huge part because I think there's a lot of ammo with it. Just taking a look at the way that Alabama has played over the last couple of games. You also have to put into the discussion that Bryce Young was basically injured during those times. Just taking a look back at the Arkansas game when Alabama basically blowed a 24-point lead because Bryce Young went down. Going back to Texas A&M's game, A&M did not look good throughout the season before that matchup. But of course, it is Alabama, so the Aggies were going to play their best game. But unfortunately for Alabama, they did not have Bryce Young. So the Crimson Tide did not look the best on the offensive side of football the last couple of games because Bryce Young has been injured. And I think that has played a huge role in that. Just also taking a look at the way that Tennessee has played on the offensive side of the football. There is a lot to like. They are explosive, but in my opinion, of course, I'm going to do our score predictions a little bit later in the game. I think there's a lot to like from Alabama side of things heading into this matchup, specifically Tennessee's defense, how suspect their secondary is and how they have fared against other teams' offenses this particular season. And also just taking a look at how Tennessee will react once you are faced with a pass rush like Alabama has on its particular team. We take a look at Will Anderson, Dallas Turner, Chris Broswell, those guys. And also you're on the road. I think they are weighing that as well. So I think this has an opportunity to be a pretty close game. But yeah, a lot of national media analysts and reporters are definitely picking the upset. I think this is the first time in a long time we've seen this amount of national media guys picking Tennessee, picking a team to upset Alabama.
What's interesting here, Justice, we got my man Tim Ferriss writing into the show. Appreciate Tim. He writes in, I believe all of the rat poison that's been delivered to Tennessee this whole week is going to be yummy for Alabama boys. Saturday road tide to everybody. Tim Ferriss, going back to a Nick Saban statement he made last year in the SEC championship game against Georgia, leading up to that game. The conversation was, there's no way that this Alabama offensive line can hold its own or do well against the likes of Jordan Davis and Quay Walker and Nakobe Dean and Nolan Smith and Trayvon Walker and the just dudes, the NFL draft pick dudes that Georgia has. But we saw what happened, Justin, in the SEC championship game. Seth McLaughlin and company took care of business. Alabama got the 41-24 win, capturing the SEC championship there. But just flipping this now to Tennessee's defense against Alabama's offense here. Speaking of Tennessee's defense, senior defensive back Jalen McCullough. Of course, we saw the story there in the news. Arrested, charged with aggravated assault there, a felony charge there. McCullough may not play in the game. We will see if he's out there, but the reports are saying he may not play in the game. This is a starter for the Volunteers. This is somebody that's got a lot of experience there in that defensive secondary. But for Tennessee's defensive front, they've got a solid front seven. They got a front seven that can affect the quarterback, that can stop the run, that can get after you and make some and create some havoc here. So Justin, for Alabama's offensive line, with Seth McLaughlin in here, knowing what he brings, that scrapper at the center position, we're seeing continuous growth from Tyler Steen and J.C. Latham as your offensive tackles. But primarily, when you look at McLaughlin, Javion Cohan, Emil Ekiyor, Tyler Booker, the interior, the center, and both guards, what do you want to see from the interior against this Tennessee defense that does have a stout front seven?
I think you definitely have to protect Bryce, of course. I think looking at those interior guys, I'm looking for them to open up some holes for Jahmyr Gibbs. I think they have consistently grown, and I think Alabama has a lot of confidence in the offensive line heading into this matchup. They look a lot better than they looked earlier in the season, specifically on the ground, specifically in the interior run game. I know that there was an area that I constantly looked at the beginning of the season in those earlier games and said Alabama definitely has to fix that area, because it's going to be a point in the season late in games where you're going to have to just run the clock out. If you have the ball, you don't want to give the other team another opportunity to score, which is something Alabama was not able to do last game against Texas A&M. If they were able to establish a run game late in that late drive before Texas A&M got an opportunity to make a play late in the game, things could have been well in hand a little bit earlier in that matchup. So I'm excited to see how they consistently grow, of course, specifically in the run game, in the interior run game, open up some holes when you take a look at those interior guys. But I think communication is going to be the biggest thing. You're going to have communication along the front. Of course, Bryce Young, if he is able to play, if he is going to start for the Crimson Tide, he does a great job of pre-snap reads, pointing out blitzes, adjusting offensive line protection. He seems to have a good handle on that. Just taking a look at when he has been healthy this season. So we've seen times where Alabama's offensive line has looked really good in pass protection. I think that picture perfect play was one time earlier this season where they hit like Isaiah Bond down the field deep in the offensive line. Just did a great job of picking up a blitz. I think the team sent an all-out blitz that play, and Alabama's offensive line is showing that great communication to know where each other were going to go on that play to have Bryce Young get an opportunity to hit Isaiah Bond deep down the field. So I'm excited to see Alabama's offensive line, but I think communication is going to be the biggest thing. Snap count, make sure that is correct all the time, because it's going to be loud inside the stadium this weekend. Of course, when it's that loud, false starts happen easily. So communication and having poise will be very important along that offensive front.
Another thing, Justin, that's going to be big here is, once again, the thing that fans have talked about all season, the wide receivers for Alabama. Another game in the SEC where they've got to step up. Tennessee's ranked 128th in terms of pass defense, 128th. When you're that low, and there's a shot here with a Bryce Young where you got to catch the football. Jermaine Burton, Ja'Cory Brooks, Trayshawn Holden, these guys have got to catch the football. These guys have got to make plays out here. Isaiah Bond, Kendrick Law, Kobe Prentice, they've got to make plays in this game. Targeting Cameron Latu more at tight end. Even working in Amari in the black if you can. I mean, I understand Jahmyr Gibbs is the best receiving option so far, leading the team in receptions with 22 for 220 yards, and 3 touchdowns. But these wide receivers, Justin, they've got to play ball. I mean, you got to get off press coverage. You got to get off man to man. You got to find the holes in the zone. You've got to make plays this week and help out the quarterback. This has to be a week where somebody emerges as the guy that you can trust me. I understand, Bama has always had that guy at the quarterback can say, I can trust, XYZ, this guy right here. They haven't had that this season. But at some point, there has to be a game where somebody emerges and goes, you can trust me, out here on the field with this football. Hopefully, this Saturday is the game where one of those guys says, look, enough is enough. You can trust me, Bryce Young, or whoever, whether it's Bryce Young, whether it's Milroe. I think Young is going to be out there, but, the receiver that comes to the forefront, they've got to come to the forefront this week.
Yeah, I think that's going to be important. I think the receivers definitely have to continue to grow. Like you said, like I said on the last show, there's not a guy on this team at the moment who we can just look at and put all your money on and say, yo, I know this guy is going to show up today, make big plays, be consistently catching the football, making plays after the catch, creating separation on routes. I don't think Alabama has a guy on the roster right now who we can point to. So I think they're looking for some guys to step up. We've seen guys flash, Ja'Cory Brooks, Kobe Prentice has flashed, Jermaine Burton seen him really flash last week when working with Jalen Milroe. Unfortunately, with Milroe's struggles, Alabama's wide receivers I guess, suffered because of that with some of Jalen Miro's struggles on last week. So hopefully, if Bryce Young is able to play, see if they're able to get back into things really quickly, especially if he has been practicing all week. If he's able to just get that connection back going. Of course, they were gaining some chemistry before he got injured. Look as if some of that chemistry was lacking at the beginning of this season, but it seems to be getting confidence. And some guys like Brooks seem to have some confidence in Jermaine Burton, specifically going back to earlier in the season, was really giving him a lot of opportunities. But Burton is a guy I think Alabama wants to have in their offense. I remember one game early in the season where they basically designed a lot of plays to give him the football. But these guys have to make plays on offensive side football at wide receiver, specifically going up against that Tennessee offense who could get things rolling. And if they do get things rolling on your defense, you're going to need an offensive attack who can keep you in the game if things do work out that way. But I think this game will be dictated by how Alabama's defense defends Tennessee.
The fans, Justin Steele, asking questions about Tyler Harrell. This comes in from Dolomite with his thought on what's the deal there with Tyler Harrell. To be honest, I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. I mean, I literally sat there and, all of our thoughts were, the Arkansas game would be the game for him to potentially make that debut. Texas A&M, if not Arkansas, I don't know where Harrell is. Whether it's he's good to go and just not buying in, or good to go and still doesn't understand the system. I don't know why we're not seeing Harrell out there, and this is the frustrating part about us not being at practice, because of when we're at practice, we can see. When we're at practice, we have our eyes on things. When we're at practice, we know. But it's really difficult when you are not at practice. So that's the thing there with one Tyler Harrell. But before we continue and get ready to wrap things up here, Justin, our guys at Prize Picks do a fantastic job of just engaging us in fantasy football, in the projections, and how exciting it is and how entertaining it is. So, Justin, tell us about what our guys at Prize Picks have going on for us.
Yeah, guys, at Prize Picks, of course, Prize Picks is a daily fantasy app you guys can download and play along with us, especially if you love fantasy sports. Our first-time users that deposit and use our promo code BAMA100 will receive a 100% instant deposit match, which means if you deposit $100, you will get a $100 instant deposit match. The deposit match goes up to $100. Of course, Prize Picks is a daily fantasy. It's currently operational in over 30 states in the United States. Prize Picks is safe and offers fast withdrawals. Fast Prize Picks entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's literally that easy. So be sure to download that app for your daily fantasy fix. Prize Picks. Use our code BAMA100. You'll get that 100% instant deposit match. With Prize Picks, you guys can have fun with daily fantasy across different sports, including NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, PGA, college football, men's college basketball, women's college basketball, soccer, WNBA, and even esports. So be sure to download the Prize Picks app. It's a great opportunity for Alabama fans to get involved in fantasy sports. I know a lot of people like NFL fantasy, so you get an opportunity to have some fantasy fun with Alabama football. Going over some of the projections that are on the board right now. One of them that is really interesting is Will Riker, who's projected to make 1.5 field goals. Just taking a look back at Alabama's last game, Riker struggled a little bit in the field goal area. So I think that is a pretty interesting projection. But you download the app and you get a chance to project whether the player projection will be more or less. So, for example, Will Riker 1.5. If I had to make that projection, I think he will have over that. I think he'll have 2 field goals made. So that is how you basically work the app. So be sure to download Prize Picks. Use that promo code BAMA100.
Absolutely. You heard him right there, my man Justin Smith, Bama 100. Get there. Use that code. Prize Picks does a phenomenal job. And for me, Justin, I just have a hard time doing it, right? Because it's like I want to make a projection, but at the same time, I guess I have this fear of being wrong, and so it's literally I have this fear of being wrong, and it happens, and I'm like, I don't want to do it anymore. Forget it. I'm done. I didn't get that, so that's just me. But it's definitely fun, people. Check it out right there. Prize picks. Download the code BAMA 100 for all of your fantasy needs right there. But we're gonna get into now, Justin, our prediction time. Wrapping this up, Bama Tennessee, going to be an outstanding matchup. You're going to be there. First time for you. Uh, Take it all in, Justin. Enjoy the atmosphere, enjoy the food, enjoy the craziness that's going to be happening there in Knoxville. But what's your prediction here for this game? I don't know the line on this game. If you know, definitely spit that out. But what's your prediction here? And then your offensive and defensive player of the week of the game.
Yeah, I got you. I think as far as a prediction, of course, I usually go with the first thing that comes to my mind. And I just instantly just think about the game. I think it's going to be a pretty tough one. I'm thinking around say 31-17. This type of game I'm thinking about. I think it's gonna be a pretty tough game. But I think Alabama's defense is going to play well against Tennessee. I think they're going to step up, and basically after this matchup, we're going to look back at Alabama's defense and say that they really stepped up against a Tennessee offense that a lot of people were projecting was going to basically run all over them. And you take a look at some of the people who are thinking that this could be an upset. So I'm thinking 31-17, Alabama pulls it out on the road in a tough environment inside Neyland Stadium. If I had to offer a player of the game, I'm going to go with Jahmyr Gibbs on offense. He has consistently been really good, consistently just gained more confidence as a running back. I know earlier in the season, we saw what he can do as a receiver, one of the most versatile players in college football. He's showing that week in and week out now. So my player of the game on offense will be Jahmyr Gibbs, and on defense, I think Will Anderson is going to step up this game. I think he's going to be very important in this matchup because you're going to want to have an outside linebacker like him consistently get pressure on Hendon Hooker, because I think that is going to be a game-changing part of this game. If you can move him out of this spot, of course, Hendon Hooker can make some plays with his feet, but he's not the fastest guy. But I think you do want to put some pressure on him because he looks really good if he's just standing up in the pocket and looking around the offense.
Absolutely, Justin. Before I give mine here to wrap us up here, we're going to go to a couple of the fans here in the chat that have their score predictions ready. We got here, Keem writes in, Bama 36, Tennessee 24. So that came from Keem. Isaac Woods has Vols 35, Vols 45, Bama 35. So Isaac Woods got the Vols there winning that game. Keem has got Ja'Cory Brooks as his offensive player of the game. Brian Branch as the defensive player of the game. Gears of Phoenix Edition 2 has Jahmyr Gibbs as the offensive player of the game, and Terrion Arnold as the defensive player of the game there. So you guys continue to get those score predictions in here for Alabama, Tennessee, and for your offensive and defensive players of the game. Now, for me, Justin, here we go here. I have been back and forth on this score prediction for a minute now. I think Alabama's defense plays well, but I got it 38-24 Bama. I got it 38-24. I think Alabama gets a couple of turnovers in the second half. They get to Hendon Hooker. They get a couple of turnovers in the second half. The offensive player of the game, I'm gonna go Bryce Young. This is his moment. Him coming back, offensive player of the game. Got to go with Bryce Young here. Defensive player of the game, Will Anderson will make a lot of noise, but my defensive player of the game is Dallas Turner. I think last week got 2 big sacks of Haynes King, and I think in this game, Pete Golding is going to devise situations where Dallas Turner's one-on-one. And this is where it's good that Will Anderson draws so much attention, because now 15 gets a lot more one-on-ones. I think Chris Braz will play a big role also. Chris Braz will make a sack or 2 in here as well. But I think my defensive player of the game is going to be 15, Dallas Turner. He is going to have a lot to say here when it comes down to getting to Hendon Hooker and putting that young man there on the ground.
Yeah, solid picks. I think Dallas Turner is a solid pick. Before we go, I see Metcalf put an interesting comment in the comment box. He said he can't pick until you know who is starting. To be honest, if Jalen Miro gets to start, I think my prediction does change a little bit. Definitely a much closer game. I might even go with the Vols if Miro gets to start. But if Bryce Young, my projection is based on Bryce Young starting, getting an opportunity to come back. So we'll see how things shake out there. But looking at prize picks, I saw someone also in the comment box asks prize picks legal in Alabama. Yeah, it is legal in Alabama. So if you are inside Alabama, you can download the prize picks app. It is daily fantasy. So be sure to download the app. It is available inside the state of Alabama.
I mean, I agree with Metcalf and you, Justin. It's like it's hard to pick until we know or until we see Bryce Young as the starter, and that's why we're kind of making these projections, these picks based off of if Bryce is out there as the starting quarterback. I mentioned on my show in my own words, there's a formula for Jalen Milroe to win a game like this, but you're going to have to stick to it. And that formula would be Alabama's defense will have to play out of its mind crazy, and that's forcing sacks, getting turnovers, forcing several 3-and-outs. Defense is going to have to do that. And then offensively, you're going to have to win time of possession, keep Hendon Hooker in that Tennessee offense on the sideline as much as you can. And then for Jalen Milroe, after having the A&M game where you had that anxiety, letting that fall to the wayside now because you got that off your chest, and now being able to trust the development that you've been getting in practice now in your second year. All of those things fall in line. There's a formula there, but I know a lot of the fans are saying, bump the formula. Let's get Bryce Young back here on this field. So I understand it from both sides. I understand it from both angles, but should be a good game. Should be a fun game. Should be a lot of excitement, folks. Bama and Tennessee on Saturday, 2:30 p.m. Central Time kickoff from Neyland Stadium in Knoxville. CBS will have the call. ESPN's College Game Day will have the call. Also, fans, be sure to follow our own Justin Smith on Twitter. He will be at the game covering this matchup for us here at TDA. Yours truly, I will be in the watch party with our own John Ivory. So follow Justin on Twitter. He'll be out there. He'll be at the game. He'll be covering the game. Justin, I'm proud of you for this. It's going to be a fun moment for you, an awesome moment for you. I know you're going to have an incredible time there. But as always, folks, we will see you Sunday for the recap following this game. You've been listening to the Bama Elite.